They did not know they were watching a test. The wooden box comes through the ballroom doors first, carried like it weighs more than it should, and every head turns before anyone even knows why. Ivy sees it before she understands it. An old man in a gray suit, gloves on both hands, walking like the floor might swallow him. He stops in front of her and bows. For the bride, only the bride. Her husband laughs beside her, already reaching for it like it's a joke. A party favor, another gift among 200 others stacked against the far wall. The old man steps back before his hand touches it. Only the bride, he says again, and this time nobody laughs. Ivy lifts the lid herself. Inside, resting on velvet gone soft with age, is a piece of jewelry unlike anything in the room. Gold worked into a pattern that looks less like decoration and more like a language nobody in this ballroom can read. For 1 second, nobody breathes. Then, across the room, a chair scrapes back. Jin Young is on his feet before he means to be. His face, usually unreadable, usually the kind of calm that makes rooms go quiet just from him standing in them, cracks for exactly 1 second. His jaw tightens. His eyes lock on the box like he's seeing something that shouldn't exist anymore. His assistant leans toward him, voice low. "Sir." Jin Young doesn't answer. He sits back down slowly, like a man forcing his own body to obey him, and says nothing for the rest of the toast. Luna sees it, though. Nobody else does. She's been watching him all night, not because she suspects anything, but because a man like that, tattoos climbing his neck under a $2,000 collar, hands marked in ink that doesn't belong to any business card he's ever handed out, is hard not to watch. She sees his reaction and files it away like a secret she didn't ask for. Ivy closes the box, smiles, thanks the old man, who's already gone, slipped out the side door before anyone thinks to stop him. "What was that about?" her husband asks. "I have no idea," Ivy says and means it. She has no idea that in exactly 1 hour, she will be the only person in this ballroom who still believes she's innocent. The gift disappears sometime between the toasts and the cake. Ivy notices first because the table it sat on is empty, and empty in a way that makes her stomach drop before her brain catches up. She checks under the table, behind the flowers. She asks the caterer, the DJ, her mother, and gets 3 different versions of nothing. By the time she finds Luna, her voice is already shaking. It's gone. The gift, the one from the old man, it's gone. Luna's face does something complicated. Sympathy, arranged fast, like she's been expecting the question. "Gone. Ivy, are you sure you didn't just put it somewhere?" "I set it down, right there. I didn't move it." "Okay," Luna touches her arm. "We'll find it, don't panic yet." "I'm not panicking." "You're doing the thing with your voice." 20 minutes later, they find a security clip instead, grainy, conveniently angled, of Ivy herself walking away from the table with a box tucked under her arm. Her husband watches it 3 times before he looks at her. "Ivy, that's not, I didn't do that." "Then explain the video." "I can't explain a video of something that didn't happen." "That's not an answer." "It's the only true one I have." He looks at the screen again, then back at her, and something in his face closes like a door. "Walk me through your night, every minute." "You're interrogating me, at our own wedding." "I'm trying to understand." "No," Ivy says, voice cracking despite herself. "You're trying to decide, and you've already started." She stands in the middle of her own reception with 200 guests turning toward her, and she cannot explain a video of herself doing something she never did. This is the moment everything changes, not later. Right here, in the space between her husband's voice and her own silence, is where the woman everyone loved an hour ago becomes the woman nobody trusts. If you've ever had someone decide in one moment that you're capable of something you'd never do, stay with Ivy through this one. Tell me where you're watching from tonight. By the time the guests start whispering openly, Ivy has stopped defending herself out loud. Her mother won't meet her eyes. Her husband keeps a careful distance, like she's contagious. Luna stays close, closer than anyone, squeezing her hand, murmuring that she believes her. "You know me," Ivy says. Tell them. I am telling them, Luna says. I'm defending you to everyone who will listen. She is not. In low voices at the edges of the reception. I don't think she'd do it either, but the video is, look at it. I don't know what to think. Every sentence built to sound loyal while doing the opposite. Across the room, Jin Young hasn't moved from his table in 10 minutes. His assistant leans in. Sir, should we leave? No. This isn't our business. It became our business the second that Box came through the door. His eyes stay on Ivy. Watch the maid of honor. He crosses the room, not fast, the kind of walk that makes people clear space without being asked, and stops close enough that Ivy notices him for the first time all night. You didn't take it, he says, not a question. Excuse me. Whatever that video shows, it isn't you. Something in Ivy loosens, the first person all night who hasn't looked at her like a stranger. How would you know that? Call it instinct. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you right now. He holds her gaze a beat too long, then steps back into the crowd like he was never there. Luna watches the exchange with her jaw tight, and for the first time, something like worry crosses her face. 2 hours later, in a room that used to be a study before it became an interrogation, Ivy sits across from her husband's family, her mother, and a security consultant somebody hired without telling her. We're not accusing you, her father-in-law says, in the tone of a man very much accusing her. You made this a story the moment you sat me down like a suspect. Her husband speaks without looking at her. Just answer the questions, Ivy. She studies him, really studies him. A man 3 hours into his marriage already halfway to believing the worst about her. You used to tell me you'd never let anyone talk over me, she says, quiet. You haven't said one word since they sat me down. His jaw works. I don't know what to say. You could start with my name instead of theirs. He looks away. That answers more than his silence did. Luna, in the corner, offers small clarifications when the timeline comes up. I think Ivy was near there around 8, maybe 8:15. Details that sound helpful and land like nails. Nobody notices she knows the timeline better than anyone who wasn't standing at that table herself. Nobody notices her hand keeps finding her own bag. Adjusting it, checking it, like a woman carrying something she doesn't want seen. Ivy notices. She doesn't know what it means yet, but something in her starts paying attention differently. I need air, she says, and stands before anyone can stop her. They were 7 the first time they promised each other nothing would come between them. Pinky fingers locked on a curb outside Ivy's grandmother's house. Best friends forever, Luna said, no matter what. They were 14 when Ivy's father lost his job, and Luna showed up anyway, every day, doing homework on Ivy's bed like nothing had changed. They were 20 when Luna's mother died and Ivy slept on a hospital cot for 11 nights, learned to read grief in the shape of Luna's silences. They were 26 in a bridal suite 3 hours before the ceremony, when Luna zipped up Ivy's dress and said, quiet enough to almost miss. You always get everything first. What? Nothing. You look beautiful. Ivy remembers all of it now, sitting in a room where everyone believes she's a thief, and wonders for the first time in 19 years if she ever really knew the person holding her hand. By midnight, half the guests have gone home with a story that isn't true. Ivy sits alone on the back terrace, veil discarded somewhere she doesn't remember taking it off. Footsteps behind her. If you're here to ask more questions, I don't have new answers. I'm not, Jin Young's voice. He stops a respectful distance away. I came to tell you something you're not going to believe. She turns. In the low light, his tattoos are visible past his collar, dark lines disappearing under his shirt. Who are you? Someone who knows this isn't over the way everyone thinks it is. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you tonight. He holds her gaze a beat too long. Whatever they decide in that room, it isn't you. Will I see you again? Something in his careful mask slips just slightly. Sooner than you think. Then he's gone, and Ivy is left with more questions than she started with, and a strange, unwelcome warmth where the panic used to be. 3 days pass before the second wave hits. More witnesses. A blurry photo, time-stamped wrong. The story hardens from rumor into fact simply because enough people repeat it. Her husband moves into the guest room. Once, passing her in the hallway, he stops. "For what it's worth," he says, not quite meeting her eyes. "I don't want to believe it." "But you do." "I don't know how not to. Everyone's looking at me like I'm a fool for defending you. And that matters more than what's true." He doesn't answer, and the silence tells her he's already chosen the easier version of loyalty, the one that costs him nothing with the people watching. Luna is the only constant. "You should just admit it was a misunderstanding," she says one evening, cross-legged on Ivy's bed like old times. "People forgive panic, they don't forgive theft." "I didn't take anything, Luna. I'm just saying, sometimes the story matters more than the truth." "Since when do you believe that?" "Since I watched what happens to people who don't control their own story." That night alone, Ivy pulls at threads she should have pulled 3 days ago. The staff witness, new hire, no shifts before the wedding. The photos timestamp, off by exactly the time it would take to stage it. Luna knew where the gift table was before it was announced. Luna was near the cameras. Luna keeps checking that bag. Something cracks open in Ivy's chest that has nothing to do with the theft and everything to do with 19 years built on something she's only now seeing clearly. If you've ever had to relearn someone you thought you knew completely, you understand exactly what this feels like. This is where the story earns its name. Subscribe so you don't lose it, because it only gets heavier from here. She confronts Luna on a Tuesday, in the kitchen of the house Ivy no longer feels safe in. "You did this." Luna doesn't flinch. That's the first thing that tells Ivy she's right. "Did what?" "The gift, the footage, the witness, all of it." "Ivy, you're exhausted. You're not thinking straight." "Don't use that voice on me. I've trusted that voice since we were 7, not tonight." Something in Luna's face shifts, not guilt, calculation. "Fine. You want the truth. I watched you get chosen by a college that rejected me. I watched your mother walk you down the aisle at your father's funeral like the two of you were still a family worth having, while mine buried hers alone. And tonight some stranger hands you a gift worth more than every year I've spent scraping by, and everyone in that room looked at you like you'd earned it just by breathing. Do you know what that does to a person, 19 years running? So you stole from me, at my wedding. I took something you didn't even understand the value of." "How do you know its value, Luna?" Silence answers before her mouth does. "Who did you give it to?" Before Luna can speak, the front door opens without a knock. 4 men in dark suits. "Both of you, Mr. Jinyoung would like to see you." The car ride is silent except for Luna's breathing, too controlled. Gates, private roads, a house built like a fortress dressed up as one. Inside, Jinyoung stands beside the open box, gold catching the light. Luna straightens at the sight of it. Hope crosses her face. She thinks this is the reward. "You did well," Jinyoung says, and for one horrible second it sounds aimed at Luna. Then his eyes land on Ivy, and everything in his expression softens, and Luna's face goes white. "I wasn't talking to you," he tells Luna without looking at her. "You did exactly what I expected. That's the only reason you're still standing here." "What is this?" Jinyoung's hand rests on the box's edge. "The gift was never the point. It was a question I've waited years to have answered honestly." He looks at Ivy. 6 years ago, your father owed money to men who collect in ways that destroy families. Someone paid that debt in full, anonymously, before he could ever say thank you." Ivy's breath catches. "That was you." He doesn't confirm it in words. He doesn't need to. The silence after her question is answer enough, and something passes over his face, not pride, something closer to relief at finally being known. 6 years, Ivy says. "You've been watching for 6 years and never said anything." "There was nothing to say, until tonight." "You used me," Luna says, voice small. "I gave you exactly enough rope to show me who you are." He finally turns to her. "You showed me quickly." If your stomach just dropped, that's exactly the reaction this one earns. The worst part for Luna hasn't started yet, and neither has the part that changes everything between Ivy and Jinyoung. Comment who you suspected before this reveal. You don't understand, Luna says, calm cracking open. They came to me months ago. They knew things about you nobody should know. They said if I got close to Ivy, gave her something she wanted, I'd never struggle again. Which family? I don't know their names. Men who knew about the debt. They said the gift would prove the connection, prove you cared enough about her to expose yourself. Ivy stares at her, pity rising beneath the anger. You let them use you to hurt me. I didn't think of it that way. You didn't think at all. You just wanted to stop standing in my shadow, so you let strangers hand you a knife and never asked what it was for. Jin Young's voice drops the room into stillness. The Beek family has enemies who have spent a decade looking for a weakness. His eyes flick to Ivy, unguarded for half a second. They found you. Me. You were the only thing I ever protected without expecting anything back. That made you valuable to the wrong people the moment they noticed. Ivy absorbs it, 6 years as an unknowing thread between two syndicates that would never have crossed otherwise. Jin Young absorbs something too, out loud, in front of people he shouldn't be this honest in front of. That protecting her quietly was never going to stay quiet forever. So what happens now? Ivy asks. Now the people who thought they found a weakness learn, they found the opposite. The punishment is swift. Every account Luna gained through the syndicates promises freezes within the hour. Every contact evaporates. You're finished, Jin Young tells her, without cruelty, which makes it worse. Not for what you tried to take, for what you were willing to become to take it. Please, Ivy. Ivy looks at her, 19 years compressed into one silence. We're not anything anymore. You made sure of that the second you decided my happiness was something to punish. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You planted evidence to have me called a thief in front of my family. What did you think this far looked like? Luna has no answer. Her knees give slightly against the table's edge. A woman who traded the one real thing in her life for something that was never going to belong to her. The men escort her out. Nobody stops Ivy from watching her go. The room empties until it's just the two of them and the box that started this. Your family will be told the truth, publicly. Whatever damage was done to your name will be undone. That's not why you're telling me this. No, it isn't. Then why? He's quiet long enough that Ivy almost fills the silence herself. Because I've spent 6 years making sure nothing touched you, and tonight I almost lost that chance without ever telling you why. You could have told me, any time in 6 years. You were happy, married. I wasn't going to be the reason that changed. My marriage is already over. It ended the moment he looked at that video before he looked at me. Her voice doesn't shake saying it, it's just fact now, settled. So tell me the rest of it, why me? He doesn't answer with words this time. He steps closer, not touching, not quite, and the silence between them says the thing he isn't ready to say out loud. I don't know what to do with any of this, Ivy admits. 6 years of protection I never asked for, a friendship that was never what I thought, and you. You don't have to do anything with it tonight. Neither of them closes the last few inches. Not yet, but something has shifted permanently, and both of them know it. The truth reaches Ivy's family within days. Her husband finds her packing. I should have believed you, he says. You should have, but you didn't, and I can't unknow that about you now. So that's it, 6 years of marriage and it ended the night you chose a video over your wife. I'm just the one saying it out loud first. He doesn't argue. He just watches her close the last bag, and for once, lets her leave without needing the last word. You didn't have to forgive Luna, her mother says, weeks later. I didn't forgive her. I just stopped letting her live in my head rent-free. The last time she sees Jinyoung before this closes, it's on a quiet street at dusk, both of them somehow ending up in the same place. Or maybe he planned it and didn't say so. You're different than I expected a man like you to be. What did you expect? Someone colder, someone who wouldn't bother explaining himself. I don't, to most people. Why me then? He looks at her the way he did on that terrace, before either of them knew how far this would go. Because you're the only person in 6 years who made me want to. Neither says anything else for a moment. The distance between them is smaller than it's ever been, and this time, nobody pulls away. If you've made it this far with Ivy and Jinyoung, this isn't really an ending. It's where the real story starts. Tell me what you would have done in Ivy's place, standing in that ballroom with everyone deciding you're guilty before you've said a word. And if you're new here, Queens, welcome. You found us on a good night.